All right, so when you guys are working on the domain and find domain and range with technologies assignment in week 1B, um, I want you guys to use Desmos. And again, if you have some other type of graphing technology, that's fine. But when it says use graphing technology, we're really just using something like Desmos. So you guys can just go to Desmos graphing calculator. Just literally type in Desmos to get there, and it should pop up. Or just Google it. I mean, you guys can Google that, okay? Just make sure that you're using the graphing calculator. All right. So it's usually the first option that shows up when you go to that website. Okay, so for example, if I'm working on this problem, it says find the range of this function f of x equals the square root of x. So what I want to do is I'm just basically going to type this in. I wonder if I can just copy that. That'd be cool. No, it won't let me copy it. Okay, but what I would do here is go in this box. I'm going to type f of x. And actually, honestly, you don't have to type f of x. I'm just doing it. And then I want the square root, right? So in order to get the square root, I want to go down here to the corner and click on that, and it's going to give me all the extra functions. All right, so the little square root button is right here. You'll see it right here at the bottom. If you need like a cube root where you got to put like a little 3 on top or a 4, go to functions and then miscellaneous, and then that option's here. So you can use either one, but the one we need right now is just square root. So I type that, and then I'm going to type x. Okay, so there's my graph. So now, again, it's asking for the range. So remember, the range is how low does the graph go, but also how high does the graph go. All right, so if I'm looking at it, if I'm basically zooming in by using like my fingers on the trackpad, like you would on your phone to zoom in, or you can click on this little button over here to zoom in and out. And notice it just stops right here at the origin, right at 0. Okay, so that's like the lowest point of this graph is at 0, 0. But remember, when you were talking about the range, we're talking about the y values, right? So the lowest y value is 0. And then if you zoom out, you'll notice that this graph, it kind of goes up and to the right, but we're more worried about how far is it going up? Is it just going up forever as it's going to the right, or is it like going up and then kind of stopping somewhere? So as I zoom out more and more and more and more, you'll notice like this never stops really going up. And I know it looks like it's about to get flat, but it's not. It's just going to keep going up forever. So there's our range. The range starts at 0 and then goes up to, remember, forever means infinity. So I go back here to Deltamath, and I can write out the notation in 2 different ways. So remember that we taught you guys inequality notation, but we also taught you set notation, which is like with the brackets. So first, let me show you the set notation. So remember I said the lowest point, that's what you start with, or the lowest y value is 0. And then the one I want to write is less than or equal. And remember, we're talking about the range. So instead of x, I'm going to put y. And then I'll put less than or equal again. So basically, it's just saying that y is between 0 and infinity. Okay, so that's one way. Okay, or I know that the graph like just keeps going up forever and ever and ever. So I can simply write that y, I can just do this part. Y is greater than 0. And so write it like this. Y is, oops, not that one, greater than or equal to 0. Okay, because it just keeps going up. It starts at 0, it keeps going up. Okay, so that's set notation. I'm sorry, inequality notation. The other one, set notation, I start at 0, and 0 is not an open circle, so I want to start at a bracket. But then it goes to infinity. So if it goes to infinity, that means I'm going to have a parenthesis. So I'm going to choose this option here. Okay, so the first number again is 0. And then right here, I'm going to type infinity. Okay, and then that's how you can say range with that. All right, so let's submit that one. Hopefully I got it right. Okay, great, I did. Okay, and there's the graph. All right, so now let's do one more. Okay, and I'm actually going to give up because I want to see one with domain. I'm going to show you domain real quick. So let's see if I can get a domain. Okay, so now I got a problem with domain. So now, again, I want to graph this in Desmos. So square root of x plus 8 minus 1. So here, I'm going to start with square root. And remember, I don't have to put the f of x plus 8, and then I think it was minus 1. Let me just double check. Okay, so now here's my new graph. And I kind of got to zoom in a little bit to be able to see it. And just see how it's color-coded. So what I want to do is I want to turn this green one off. So I'm just going to turn that off, okay, by clicking that little colored right there. And now you can see that this one, it looks the same, but it starts somewhere different. Okay, the other one started here. This one starts way over here. So it kind of has that same pattern. It starts at some number and then just keeps going up forever. So the lowest y value at this point is, if I go over here, is -2. Okay, so that's the range though. So don't get confused, because that's the range when we talk about the lowest point. Right now we're talking about the domain. So now we're not focused on the y values anymore. Now we're focused on the x values. Okay, so when a domain, I want to start with what's the farthest it goes to the left. I keep going to the left, keep going to the left, and I stop right there. It doesn't go any further than that point to the left. And what x value is that? -8. Now, what is it doing as I go to the other way to the right? Well, as I go to the right, if I keep moving this graph, it doesn't ever stop. It just keeps on going. And we know what that means. That means it's going to be infinity. Okay, infinity to the right. So we got -8 to the left, infinity to the right. And we always start with the first one on the left. Just realized I got to correct myself. It's not -2. It's actually -1. -2 is down here. This is actually -1, because if you look, this is going by like halves. So if I was to zoom this out a little bit, you'll see that there's 1, and it actually, the lowest y value is actually -1. So anyways, that doesn't matter for this problem because we're talking about domain. Okay, so now we'll go -8 to the left, as I said. Okay, then less than or equal to, remember this domain, so I put x, and then less than or equal to infinity to the right. Okay, so and then remember, if I do the same thing with set notation, I start at a number which it can reach, so I put -8, and then comma infinity. And remember, anytime I put infinity, I'm going to put parentheses. This is acting up. So then I just put a parenthesis right after that. Okay, and hopefully I get it right. And there we go. So that's how you do those.